Matty Fresh on the track up at State. And I'm bringing to you live my boys Alec and Nate, Tequila Ty, Jay, Nelly, and Zillin in the building. So kick it back, pour the drink. We chillin' because I'm boozing and betting and ballin' like I'm 2-6 in the blue kicks. Watch me move quick. Yeah, this the blueprint. So who's getting involved? Welcome into the show. This is Booze, Bets, and Ball, baby.
Okay, I don't know where the hell to start with this. So it is 6:09 Eastern Time, Tuesday, December 2nd. Penn State still doesn't have a coach. They thought they did. They do not. So Kalani Sitake from BYU was the name that started floating around, I guess, early Monday, late Sunday. And Penn State thought they had him. As of Tuesday afternoon, they definitely do not. It seems like they made a pretty sizable offer, but they never agreed to anything. Sitake pretty much scheduled a goodbye meeting with BYU, and they talked him into staying. And this is just turning into an absolute cluster. I don't know where the hell they are going from here, but Bob Chesney is off to UCLA, as far as we know. Kalen DeBoer was not fired by Alabama because they beat Auburn, in part due to Auburn's incompetence, but they did beat them. Matt Rule is hopefully not an option with how bad he's finished the season. I do not know where they are going, but it's this late in the process and they don't have a clue.
Yeah, is that the lead in?
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
oh my God. All right, hold on. I can't see. All right, now I can see. So holy cow, that was insane. And yeah, what a whirlwind last, I don't know, 24, 30 hours or so, right? It's from the time there was some buzz about Sitake kind of a couple weeks ago, and it was like really weird. Everybody thought like there's no way he would leave BYU. He's a lifer, and you know it's. But then we were also going after Key and going after Brom and Clark Lee from Vanderbilt a little bit, right? But it was out of all of them, everybody thought he would be the worst fit. And also the least likely to leave his alma mater because, you know, BYU is different, right? It's not just Louisville or it's not just even Georgia Tech, which is a special place in and of itself. I mean, it comes with the religion part of it and everything else. And somehow Pat Kraft apparently got him to agree to a handshake deal for a very significant raise to come to Penn State. And that lasted I don't know, somewhere in the range of 5 hours before the entire Church of Latter-day Saints, the CEO of Marriott and the CEO of Crumble Cookies decided to fight back against Penn State and changed his mind over the last day or something like that. So just the most disgusting turn of events. I mean, good for him, honestly. Like I do think it's probably the right place for him, and you know he got something out of it for his program. But there is no salvaging what this coaching search is right now, and probably the legacy that Pat Kraft has, no matter who comes in, because going into Saturday, and I'm just going to ramble for a long time. I think that going into Saturday, there was all this buzz about Kellen DeBoer coming over, and that was going to be a thing if they lost the Iron Bowl. And by God, they almost did. And Auburn did everything to keep Kellen DeBoer at Alabama. But pinning your hopes on that loss is also terrible. And that's stupid. And then going after the guy who has more of a legacy at the job he's in right now than literally anybody else probably in the entirety of college football is also stupid. And I don't mean just as a coach and the tenure of his role, but going back to when he was a kid and he moved from Tonga or whatever to Provo, Utah. He used to go to the football games, right? I mean, come on. So stupid. So Pat Kraft, at least probably ruined his Penn State tenure, if not his career as an athletic director. And we'll see what comes of this. But there's a real chance that this like just obliterates the football program for a few years.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to sign a 2026 recruit. Now, maybe they get a couple guys in the later signing period in February if they finally have a coach by then. But like, it's not going to be a good class either way. You're looking to primarily build through the transfer portal at this point, and I don't know what that's going to look like, and who the coach is going to be, how much they're going to be invested in, who they can pull. There's a lot that is just not right, and I don't know. You know, some people are like starting to regret the Franklin thing. I'm not there. I think that these two things are mutually exclusive, and Franklin screwed up the season, and Kraft could also screw up the coaching search. Like I think both those things happened. Like I'm not going to go back on the fact that that probably needed to happen, because after losing, they probably would have at best went 8-4, 7-5 if they stayed anyway. So a 1-game difference, like maybe they beat Iowa. That's the only game I could see flipping, really. I don't think they could have thrown a better shot at Ohio State or Indiana. That is what it was, considering their injuries they had too. So
I'll even go a step further. I think, okay, so I 100% agree that I think the firing Franklin was the right thing. I think that there's talk about like now Kraft like is the enemy or whatever, but he's interfering with the NIL going into the year and all that. But I think that the hype that Franklin built around the team really was the wrong way to do this. Like as in terms of managing expectations, he did a horrible job with it, right? It was the best coaching staff he's ever had, the best roster he's ever had, blah, all these things. And like that is not how you motivate for success, I feel like more frequently than not. And he did this to himself. And then, when they lost to Oregon and then UCLA and Northwestern, and then Drew Aller goes out, like that was set up for failure. And I think that was the right genesis of what is now a disaster. But I think at the time that was the right thing. And like you said, that decision is mutually exclusive from whatever train wreck this is becoming right now. And my God, and boy did it go bad. And like if you think back 5 weeks ago, we were talking about Jeff Brom, we were talking about Manny Diaz, and talking about even Bob Chesney, Terry Smith, who else, Key from Georgia Tech, like all these guys. And once they kind of fell, even Eli Drinkwitz, right? Once Bo got hurt and they kind of fell out of playoff contention, you think like, all right, well maybe now we're going to go get one of those guys because they can leave the team that they are, because there's less to play for. And then every week went by and you get to Iron Bowl week and it's like, oh well, I guess maybe this is the thing. And then to go from Saturday night after the Iron Bowl to Monday, it's like, all right, well, KDB fell out and now you got Sitake, but now like it's really gone off the rails since then. So
yeah, I know you kind of brought this up, but just making your top option a guy as tied into his current school as Sitake with no real backup plan, because Chesney was pretty much off the board by that point. That's bad, because you knew there was a pretty good chance they could probably talk him into staying, and they did. So I just like I can understand going after him, because I think he is a really good coach. Obviously, he's winning 11 games here at BYU frequently. Everyone seems to like him. He recruits pretty well for being BYU. So like I get it, like wanting someone like that, but it wasn't a highest bid type situation and biggest school type thing. And that's what ended up happening. It just blew up in their face. And now you really don't have much of a plan B. Is it Brom? Brom was exciting mid-October, and then they lost a bunch of games at the end of the year and fell down. And, the quarterback was talking about, we were undisciplined. That's something that hopefully is fixed for next year, like kind of taking some shots in a sense. And that kind of turned me off of him. He loses a lot of games he shouldn't. Now, he's never been at ultra talented places, so maybe somewhere like Penn State that changes, but you're kind of screwed. And I don't know why, like, Brian Hartline seems to not be an option. He's someone I could get behind. I think at least he's exciting. And they just seem to be ignoring it. They seem to be just hell-bent on it has to be someone who's currently a head coach. And I've said I don't agree with that, because when I looked at Georgia, Oregon, and Oklahoma, and Ohio State, and Michigan, I know Michigan to a lesser extent than the other ones, it was guys that came from coordinator roles, either at the current school or at another one. So that's not always the right way to go. Like the biggest programs, and Notre Dame as well with Marcus Freeman, like these schools that are pretty much in the playoff or in the top 25 right now didn't go that route. So I don't know why you were hell-bent on that was the only way to go when there were some intriguing coordinator options. Will Stein just went to Kentucky. Ryan Grubb doesn't get talked a lot at Alabama, but like an option. And Hartline is probably the class of coordinators when it comes to recruiting, age. I know maybe not the most play calling experience, but still, like I don't understand why those guys just weren't options. And now you're really behind the 8 ball, and you're looking at like some crusty old dudes. Really, like it's like Rule Brom, maybe Brent Key, Brian Dable got fired by the Giants, which is like a complete no for me. Like it's not a good crop now. And I think if you wanted to make a move on someone like Sitake, it probably should have been sooner, because there was a high chance of blowback and you still had options available. And now you really have nothing.
Yeah. No, and the thing on Hartline and even Stein, I guess to some extent, I don't know. I get both sides of the coin here. I get the desire to have somebody who's been a head coach and has been successful as a head coach, obviously, right? Because it shows that they, from the bottom up, can build a program, or maintain, I guess, right, a program. And when you have somebody like Sitake who's winning 11 games at BYU, who doesn't always get the most talented people. Now, they do tend to get people that are like several years older than the 18-year-olds, right? Because those kids go on missions for 2 years. So they come in off, like, I think my son and I were talking about, I think he said 60% of the kids have done their mission by the time they start football. So they're 20 years old. Yeah. So that gives them an advantage, but like neither here nor there. But the second best option is precisely a top tier coordinator who can recruit like crazy and has has been under the tutelage of somebody else that's won national championships, and Ryan Day, teaching Brian Hartline, and even Urban before him. Like Hartline's been on that staff for a long time, right? Like that is exactly what you want, right? So, and if you hired Brian Hartline 3 or 4 weeks ago, your 2026 class would be out of this world, and instead it's behind Harvard. So,
yeah. I mean, he screwed this up bad, and it seems like he tried to do the majority of it by himself, which is why a lot of the information on it was way off, because frankly, no one at all knew outside of him, and not having any other opinions brought in, not bringing a search firm, some of the things that are common in these situations, seems to have really blown up on him. Like he did try to do this himself to keep it as sealed as possible, and maybe that's because from early on he targeted Sitake and knew that blowback like this could happen if it leaked, and that was why, which I get. But now, not bringing in any other opinions, you kind of see. Someone could have easily told him, "Hey, this has a high chance of not working. Like, look at what he's done at BYU. Like, let's consider other guys. Let's not try to tell everyone the job's not theirs," because from what I'm kind of gathering, like Terry Smith's attitude after the Rutgers game was a lot different than after the Nebraska game. Like it wasn't so much of his candidacy for the job. It was more like, yeah, like we did a good job. Mm-hmm. And Chesney's off to UCLA Sunday night. Like it seems like those guys were kind of informed that they weren't getting the job already, which is a bad strategy when it's, This would be if Matt Rule was at Penn State for the last 5 years and had back-to-back 11-win seasons, and then like USC try to get him. Like it just wouldn't work, I don't think. And to put all the eggs in that basket is just insane to me.
It's like if the Pope was the Pope, and then the Muslim equivalent of the Catholic Church tried to poach the Pope. It's more than Matt Rule. Like this is like deeply held religious belief, and this guy, you're making this guy leave. Like it's both of those things put together. So, oh my God, like just crazy. I don't know. It's not good. I don't know. We're doing this because I don't know. It's like the boards are insane. Group chats are falling apart, and like you've never seen the emotional responses I have over the last few hours. I was online all day, not all day. I was on and off online, and then I got home and I was doing some work, and then my kid calls and he's like, "It's over, man, it's over." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he told me, and then I went back on the boards for a while, and it just started all this stuff. It's nuts though.
Yeah, it hasn't been easy to work or drive
No,
or do
no,
anything,
like,
do anything else.
and I'm gonna say this, and I truly believe this from a football standpoint. So I'm in the remaining group chat. I said something like, I think this has the real possibility or even probability to set the football program back more than the sanctions did. And obviously, the circumstance of this is very different from that. But the football out. Sorry.
I could hear you still.
Yeah, sorry. My alarm went off. The football outcome of this is going to be worse, and I believe that because you had back then leaders like Matt Mowdy and those guys who like rallied around each other and rallied around the program. There was no NIL. There was no like free transfer rule. If this doesn't get fixed in a little bit, like kids are gone, right? And the whole roster is gone. And back then you could bring in, I don't know, you could bring in Bill O'Brien, who was a little bit unknown, but you also had like Hackenberg and Adam Brenneman and those guys stick around. Like you don't have that to even begin with now. And O'Brien was, maybe not the flashiest candidate, but he was somebody willing to take the job and was supported by the administration as it was. Like whoever takes this job, I guess, will kind of be supported by Pat Kraft, but like, do they actually feel wanted the way that O'Brien did? This is an unmitigated disaster, and it's going to. If you remember, after sanctions, there was no losing season until 2020. I would bet, and there's been none since 2020. I would bet if we don't have a hire by the midnight tonight, we have a losing season in the next year or two, right? Like almost certainly. Because
the frustrating part is that their schedule's on the easier side
next
year. There's no Ohio State, Oregon, or Indiana on it. Now USC and Michigan are on it. I think USC's home and you're at Michigan. There's a couple other like middle of the pack squads on there. Like you go to Washington, which might not be an easy game, stuff like that. But there's a real argument that you could have went at least 9-3, maybe 10-2, and snuck in as the 12th seed in the playoff, and maybe you get absolutely destroyed in the first round. But in year one with a coach, you made the playoff, and that is something you could sell to recruits and transfers and to donors. And so pretty much the premise was just don't totally screw up this hire, because even if it's not the best, you could maybe backdoor your way into the playoff next year and build some momentum. And now, like, I think Sitake could have done that. Now you're kind of like, what you're talking about, like it could be a losing season. And that's the more damaging thing to me is next year could have been a nice momentum swing in the right direction. And now it just seems like you're in a spiral that where you catch it and stop it.
Yeah. And maybe it'll change. I don't know. Like but the options that exist, we should go through them, I guess. Terry Smith being one. If they hired Terry Smith immediately after the Nebraska game or immediately after the Michigan State game, or frankly, immediately after the Rutgers game, right? Like it looks very, very different than this. The public nature of this blowing up just really sours it for everybody. So you got him again. You have Jeff Brom, maybe. and Jeff Brom is like the anti James Franklin because he's going to lose like 4 games a year, but he's going to beat all the top 5 teams. So I don't know. I guess like, it's just like, well, cool. I don't know. And by God, we wish we had Bob Chesney still available, right?
Yeah. No, that I think that's sailed, which is bad.
Yeah. And that JMU team is like super old, but you know, I don't know. I was looking at their roster the other day, and they have a lot of seniors and stuff. But at the same time, you know, he's 11-1, and he could be Signetti 2.0. So
yeah. So we're gonna see how this transpires. You'll probably hear from us sometime soon again. But as of right now, it is not looking good. So we're gonna see. I really don't know. Okay.